Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day wherever you're at and whenever you're watching this. Today we're going to be jumping into some more SCP Exploring Series goodness with the Exploring Series. We're going to be checking out SCP-1548, The Star, The Hateful. Links will be down below in the description as always to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to the Exploring Series channel. Please do me a favor, if you enjoy this video as we go through it, go give it a like. And if you enjoyed the Exploring Series content and you're not already subbed to the man, please do me a favor of clicking the link below, going over to his channel, hitting that sub button if you enjoy the man's content. He makes a lot of wonderful content for the SCP universe as well as others, and he definitely deserves the love. Excuse me. If you'd like to join us when we do these reactions live, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I offer. If you would, if you've been around the channel for a while and decide you want to take your support to the next level, take a look at those, see if any of them have any interest for you, and get early access videos, if you're already in any reaction requests, etc., etc. So take a look if you decide you want to go to the next level with your support for the channel. Regardless, let's jump into this video. Again, this is SCP-1548, The Star, The Hateful by the Exploring Series.
SCP-1548, The Star, The Hateful. Our sun is considered by most people to be a pretty good thing and provides...
So, right off the bat, I'm wondering if this is going to be about the SCP potentially somehow in some way related to what's going on with the Daybreak stuff that I've been going through with Mr. Illustrated's animated series, you know, based on the original article that he's doing. So I'm curious if that is the case or if this is something completely different.
It's warmth and light for our planet, and we'd be in rough shape without it.
Yeah, we wouldn't exist without it.
The SCP universe has toyed with the sun in various ways, from making it responsible for a nightmarish apocalypse to containing various deities. SCP-1548 is perhaps its most useful interpretation, however, and showcases a rather dire situation. I'll note that this entry has nothing to do with the original Hateful Star SCP that some might be familiar with.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming that is the Daybreak one. Okay. It's interesting, though, that he mentions that the SCP has toyed with the sun in various ways, and that even deities and other things potentially are in there. That is pretty intriguing, as that's nothing that I've gotten into beforehand. So, let's continue.
But it is unique in its own right. SCP-1548 is not a designation for the sun itself, but rather for various solar phenomena that occur on the surface of the sun.
Okay.
Primarily around its southern pole. There are 3 types of 1548 events. One being a series of 6 massive sunspots that connect to one another after 23 hours, often accompanied by the formation of a gaseous projection from the sun's surface.
Interesting.
This projection is notable as it takes the shape of various thaumaturgic symbols, or magical symbols in layman's terms.
Huh. That is actually pretty fascinating. I wonder if that means somehow the sun is fundamentally attached to how magic works in the SCP universe, or if there are, like, maybe the sun was created by some kind of, you know, beings that use magic to create it, and these are the sunspots that they're seeing, you know? I don't know. That's pretty fascinating, though.
This is then followed by a coronal mass ejection.
Right.
A large expulsion of plasma from the sun's corona. The second event is similar to the first, but the projections break off from the surface and move away from it into space. The third event involves sunspots on the sun's surface itself, forming into the shapes of thaumaturgic symbols. These can occur at any point on the surface of the sun. These symbols come in a large variety of forms, some of them identified by the Foundation, many of them not. One of the symbols, if inscribed onto a telescopic device by a person with thaumaturgic abilities, will allow them to see psionic entities with malicious intent towards the user.
I wonder if it's like, if that's pattern screamers, you know, if it uses this, you know, thaumaturgic symbols is allowed them to detect pattern screamers. Is that what he's talking about, or is it something else?
If the individual does not have any psionic abilities of their own, after 4 hours of use, they will begin to experience symptoms of psychosis. Another symbol is much more blatantly useful, as when it's affixed or projected onto a material, it strengthens the material, enhancing its ability to absorb kinetic or electromagnetic energy, and also allows it to be hidden from sight. Another symbol, when affixed to a weapon of any type, will cause the area around any entity killed with the weapon to be annihilated, proportional to the size of the entity killed. Materials enhanced with the previous symbol are conveniently unaffected by this annihilation zone.
Interesting.
So far, 61%.
Almost kind of like a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing with these symbols and how they affect and react with each other. And it's kind of a way, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not, I guess. I don't know. I was kind of wondering if like one is able to cancel out the other or one doesn't necessarily affect the other, but I guess maybe that's not necessarily the case.
Of observed symbols on 1548 pertain to the anomalous religion and mythology of the Ortothans.
The Ortothans, I've not heard of them before.
Then and talk about the Church of the Second Hio and the Ortothans.
Okay. I've heard, you know, a lot of you guys have mentioned in the comments stuff about the Second Hio, but I have not gotten into that yet, or whoever the Hitothans are. Okay, so I guess let's continue and see what these guys are, at least a brief introduction of these guys are about.
As they are rather relevant to SCP-1548. The core belief of the Church of the Second Hio is that this universe we exist in is actually the second of its kind.
Right.
The Second Hio. And that
right, the first one was destroyed in that event with the pattern screamers, and the pattern screamers are those entities that were left over, I believe, from that destruction. Something along those lines.
The first Hio was devoured by some sort of entity from outside the universe. This sort of general concept is found in various places throughout the SCP universe. And if you've seen my video on pattern screamers,
right,
the concept is likely exceptionally familiar to you.
So I wonder if it was the Scarlet King that initially destroyed or swallowed whatever the first variation of our universe.
The difference with the Church is that they seek to support a sort of universal guardian deity, whom they refer to as Rakhmu Luzin. Rakhmu Luzin was apparently a former survivor of the previous universe that managed to escape the destruction and come to the newly created Second Hio, along with a number of others.
To me, that whole idea is so fascinating, right? Like, just imagine being an entity or a being that has had or has the knowledge and power to surpass the destruction of a universe and survive through to the creation of another universe. And I mean, like, essentially God, right? You know, like, you're basically, that would be the definition of a God. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it would just be fascinating. Like, I would just want to sit down and have a conversation with a being like that, you know what I mean? And just learn from it, learn what the other universe was like, you know, with the laws of physics the same, you know, just in general. I would just like, it would be something that would be interested to have a conversation with, if a conversation could even be had. Would I be able to even comprehend, you know, the knowledge that it could give me, or understand what it's saying, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Just like stuff like that fascinates me. The idea of, you know, some kind of beings like that potentially existing out in the universe, and what would happen should we encounter them, meet them, and what could we learn from them if they would even care to take the time to talk to us, investigate us, etc.? Would they even be curious or care?
7 of these survivors, including Rachmu-Luzin, made the choice to ascend to godhood in order to protect this new universe from the extra-universal threats, known as Vorotut. 6 of these gods, however, have died, leaving only Rachmu-Luzin left. The Ortothans, those that support Rachmu-Luzin, are proficient in thaumaturgy and the
So I wonder what happened to those previous gods.
And a handful of SCPs have been found connected to their efforts to keep Rachmu-Luzin alive.
So, like, if there is a church that is worshiping this god and trying to keep it alive and empowered, is there an opposite? Is there a religion, church, or entities, that are being worshipped that are trying to destroy this, creature and, for whatever their own, malicious benefit is?
Often through providing him blood. It's believed that Ortothans exist in various places throughout our galaxy, and possibly beyond. But we'll save the rest of that discussion for another video.
So it's not a religion that's local just to Earth.
We have a star in our solar system that is suddenly starting to project magical symbols on its surface that are connected with a group devoted to protecting our universe from some horrific threat.
Right.
These symbols were first observed in 1983, despite Ortothan beliefs existing on Earth for thousands of years. In 2016, however, a number of 1548 events occurred in rapid succession, displaying various thaumaturgic symbols, as well as...
So they started doing like Naruto ninjutsu symbols up there on the sun in rapid succession, huh?
a number of non-anomalous phrases and symbols in the Ortothan language related to protection. Over the next month, a dense cloud of ionizing radiation began forming around the solar system. By the end of January, this cloud had become dense enough to the point where no outside light could penetrate our solar system.
Interesting. So, I mean, is there a being in the sun that is protecting us? Or is that the opposite? Like, I mean, it says the star of the hateful, making you think that, I mean, it's the star, comma, the hateful. So it could be that the star is separate from the hateful. But the title kind of makes you at least think or imply that the star is the hateful creature. But it could be the opposite. The star could be protecting us from the hateful.
Foundation telescopes have observed patterns within the cloud related to thaumaturgy. In other words, the night sky is now completely dark, aside from objects within our own system, and no telescope can see the rest of our galaxy. This was, of course, noticed by the rest of the world, and so the Foundation began distributing false scientific information, claiming the solar system had entered a dense cloud of cosmic dust. Any and all accurate scientific information about the radiation cloud is censored by the Foundation's protocols.
Makes sense.
Unfortunately, the Foundation would soon have even more to cover up, as a number of anomalous events would start to crop up after the appearance of the radiation cloud. A spacecraft launched by SpaceX, heading towards the International Space Station, was suddenly cut in half, with half of the craft anomalously disappearing, resulting in the death of the entire crew. Radio signals were received soon afterward from outside of the cloud, although they matched no known language.
How are you supposed to cover that up?
A few days later, the International Space Station itself began broadcasting visual and audio cognitohazards. Anyone exposed to these hazards would enter a trance state, and eventually their brains would inexplicably vanish.
What?
2 hours after the space station began broadcasting, a spike in...
Hold up. Okay. So, SpaceX launches a rocket into space. The rocket gets cut in half, all crew lost. Then, so the SCP has to cover that up, which is like that in and of itself. I mean, I guess you could say, booster malfunction, whatever, during launch or liftoff, and It was another, Challenger type tragedy where everyone was lost from some kind of, malfunction. But then the International Space Station starts broadcasting cognito hazards that essentially, make your brain disappear? What? What is happening, brother? And obviously, I would assume that means that any of the astronauts on the space station would be dead at that point too, right? Because they would have had to have been exposed to the cognito hazard, at least you would think. Interesting. Some weird stuff going on.
In thaumaturgic, 2 hours after the space station began broadcasting, a spike in thaumaturgic particles was detected coming from the sun, which seemed to have caused the space station to abruptly change trajectory towards re-entering the Earth's atmosphere.
To destroy
which
it.
will certainly cause its destruction.
Right.
SCP-2713 was then found to be empty, with signs of a significant struggle occurring inside.
2713. I don't know what that is off the top of my head.
Is essentially an anomalous extra-dimensional nightclub, where astronomical bodies, notably stars, seem to interact together in humanoid forms.
That's a fascinating idea for a story. A nightclub where stars can literally form into humanoid bodies to interact and just chill out with other stars, other celestial bodies, and potentially people. That actually is kind of a fascinating idea and concept. That'll be one that I'll have to check out.
It's pretty much as strange as it sounds.
Yeah.
But something cleared it out. Violently.
Okay.
A few days after that, a portal opened near a political demonstration in Berlin, and the head of the Church of the Second Hio stepped out of it. He announced to the protesters that a shelter had been built, leading all of the individuals present to follow him back through the portal, including 2 undercover Foundation agents.
That's kind of sus, but
closed again.
I don't know if I'd follow. You know what I'm saying? That. Some dude just appears out of nowhere in a portal and says, "Hey, I got a shelter prepped," It's like, "Hey man, there's popsicles down here in the basement. It's fine." You know what I'm saying? I don't know, that feels a little sus, but at the same time, I guess if you're from the SCP universe, you could understand that they might have good intentions, but if you're just a regular dude, who is this guy? Where did they come from? Etc. I don't know. I don't know enough about this church and this religion, but you would think, because they sound benevolent. They sound, from this so far, like they're trying to essentially support life in the best way they can by keeping this god alive who is trying to protect our entire universe from this extra-dimensional or multiple extra-dimensional entities that are trying to eat and destroy our universe that could potentially start the next cycle. And maybe that's part of what the cycle of the universe is in this, SCP canon story. Is, every so often these entities come, eat our universe, it gets destroyed, and then a new Big Bang or whatever happens, and, potential survivors that transition, to godhood or whatever, for a period, protect life in the universe until they weaken and die, and the cycle keeps repeating, But anyway, my point is that these people from this church sound like they're trying to keep things alive. You would think that they would want to message or work with some of these organizations like the SCP Foundation, etc., and be like, "Hey, we're getting information, messages, signs from our god, whatever, that shit's about to go down. Be prepared."
On January 10th, 2017.
And that way, when they start opening portals and be like, "Hey, we're sheltering people to safety," they can be like, "Yeah, Follow these guys. They're good. They know what's up.
Which the portal closed again. On January 10th, 2017, an anomalous weapon of mass destruction was detonated in the middle of Times Square, killing an undetermined amount of people and destroying the entirety of Midtown Manhattan.
Yikes.
A high number of demonic possessions and entities have been observed around the epicenter.
Okay,
and people
demons.
connected to the Chaos Insurgency blamed the event on a global shadow organization.
Huh.
It's unclear who they're exactly referring to.
Yeah. That doesn't ring a bell to me.
SCP-179, mentioned in my Beneficial SCPs video, is a humanoid entity located within our solar system that has, through various gestures, warned Earth in the past of incoming threats.
Yeah. Extraterrestrial threats.
She is claimed to be the sister of the sun. And on January 19th, she sent a final gesture signifying the word defend, before descending into the surface of the sun and vanishing.
Interesting.
The frequency of 1548 events increased dramatically after she did so. A number of paramilitary groups, working for both anomalous organizations and various governments, attempt to use the chaotic situation to further their own goals.
Of course.
Forcing the Foundation and the GOC to work together to combat them.
Of course.
On January
Strange
22nd,
bedfellows.
an anomaly on the moon, SCP-2821, that appears as a spherical true vacuum, suddenly expanded to 1.7 kilometers in diameter before vanishing. A nearby Foundation facility lost a number of personnel and anomalies, and it's theorized that 2821 formed a wormhole leading to another region of the universe.
Okay.
2821 is believed to be the creation and residence of a patterned screamer, so it's possible that it fled some sort of imminent danger. SCP-3417 is an
if a pattern screamer is leaving some kind of danger, then you know something's up, right? You know something's about to go down.
Extraterrestrial entity. SCP-3417 is an extraterrestrial entity located near the center of the Milky Way, and the Foundation has received communications from it in the past, transmitted in an unknown dialect of the Orthothan language. These transmissions usually amount to what is essentially Orthothan scripture, but on January 25th, 2017, a much different transmission was received.
Yo, shit's about to go down.
This message began by saying that all Orthothans must listen now, as stars have been lost, and it mentions the first invasion, presumably of the first universe. It calls all of the Orthothans to band together to defend existence, as the gods need their help. United, they are strong. The transmission ends rather abruptly, but it's pretty clear at this point that something very bad is occurring.
Yup.
The Foundation works with the GOC and various governments to try and cover up as much as possible, but the Latvian, Estonian, and Georgian governments begin declassifying documents on anomalies known to them.
Yeah, I feel like at that point, like, you'd be getting into Broken Masquerade territory, right? Where it would be hard to cover this stuff up. Because you would think, I mean, they mentioned that, you know, the Earth or our solar system was surrounded by some kind of, you know, ionic cloud or whatever. Maybe it's dissipated at this point, maybe not. But if we're able to see through and out to the universe, eventually people would start noticing, you know, that certain stars and maybe even galaxies and stuff like that are being plucked out or not where they should be, and some real interesting stuff out there starting to happen, and you wouldn't necessarily be able to start covering all this stuff up, or at least you would have to start shifting your focus from covering stuff up to, like, preparing for whatever's gonna happen, right? You know what I'm saying?
We learn that in 2000, a Foundation probe was sent on a path into deep space in order to learn about potential anomalies beyond our solar system. On the 27th of January, as the probe was about to pass through the radiation cloud and leave our solar system, two 1548 events occurred. with one of the projections launching out towards the probe. We're given a log of the probe's journey through the cloud. 100 kilometers away from the cloud, it appears to be glowing a dull orange color, and highly complex geometric shapes can be seen forming on its surface. Connection with the probe is lost as it passed through the cloud, but later re-established. The radiation had damaged many pieces of equipment on the probe, but a camera was still functioning. The other side of the cloud looks like a mass of high-energy solar flares, encompassing the entire boundary of the solar system.
Yikes.
Thousands of thaumaturgic symbols are present.
Are all that's left?
With the ones that could be identified signifying camouflage and warding sigils used.
Oh, they've set up like a cloaking field around our solar system or some shit.
By the Ortothans against extra-universal threats. In the distance, swarms of entities can be
we're going
seen
into 40K
surrounding
here.
Our solar system, with sizes ranging from 10 kilometers to 10,000 kilometers.
Straight up Tyranids.
Some even significantly larger. Two of these entities passed by the probe. One of them, some sort of eel with 5 arms, a mouth made of impossible geometric structures, and a flickering body. And the other, an oscillating and contorting tetrahedral object that leaves a trail of disintegrating black rocks.
Really kind of gives me Mass Effect vibes again, you know, like it feels like the Reapers are coming, and yeah, the Ortothans have tried to set up some kind of cloaking field around our solar system to protect us from these invaders. And again, it sounds almost like it's a cyclical thing where after so much time, eventually these gods lose enough power that these invaders come and consume everything. And then eventually another big bang or universe is created. Survivors of the previous universe ascend to godhood, and the cycle repeats itself where these new gods then protect the universe for as long as they can until, you know, their power wanes and the cycle, you know, continues. An interesting idea for like a cycle of birth and rebirth and, you know, death and creation of the universe and all that. That's pretty fascinating. What's it called? I guess birth mythos, universe, the creation mythos.
The two entities are heading towards an expanding hole in the cloud created by the probe. The thaumaturgic symbols on the cloud begin to glow, releasing shockwaves that slow the entities, but one still manages to make it through the hole. The hole rapidly begins to close, and the entity disappears out of the probe's sight, as beams of thaumaturgic energy emit from the cloud and vaporize the second entity.
Yikes.
The projection from the 1548 event finally reaches the probe at this point, and contact is permanently lost. Well, that's certainly a pretty bad situation.
No shit.
Our small solar system is surrounded by countless nightmarish entities that, if the Ortothans are to be believed, have already destroyed one universe and are ready to destroy the second.
Yep.
The
What are you
sun
supposed to
seems
do about
be doing
that?
a serviceable job of protecting us, but things look dire. The probe had received another transmission from the SCP-3417 entity, but things seem even stranger. The message reads that all Ortothans should unite somewhere, and the extra-universal invasion lessens. The gods have protected them, and Ortothans shall survive.
That
7
seems like a
minutes
fake
later, the message
thing.
continues by saying that Rockmu-Luzin is dead. A minute later, it says that the gods have lost, the Milky Way is lost, and the universe is unprotected. It then immediately changes to say that the universe is not lost, and Ortothans are not lost.
Yeah, there's like some propaganda going on here, some crosstalks happening.
Before cutting out completely. This seems like a rather contradictory message,
Yeah.
both providing hope and dashing it in the same sentence. The transmission, however, ends with a sequence of spiral patterns and an encrypted image, which, when decrypted, shows an entity resembling the one located inside that true vacuum on the moon, SCP-2821. In other words, that pattern screamer wasn't fleeing, but traveled to SCP-3417 in order to make it send transmissions that would either lead the remaining Ortothans into a trap or cause them to give up.
Yeah.
SCP-3417 is now pending reclassification to neutralized. You might recall that eel entity that slipped through the cloud. Unfortunately, it wasn't destroyed, but rather it arrived in our solar system and single-handedly destroyed Pluto. The Foundation sent out an orbital vessel equipped with anomalous weapon and propulsion.
No wonder they reclassified Pluto. This son of a bitch killed it.
Propulsion systems to take it out. The vessel lasted 10 minutes, after which all communication was lost. Footage from a probe show the vessel and the entity being surrounded by a black substance and vanishing. 2 hours later, this substance dissipated, and the vessel was seen accelerating towards Mars at near light speeds, with an organic mass resembling the eel attached to it. 30 minutes later, the vessel collided with Mars, creating a 400-kilometer wide crater, ionizing the atmosphere and turning the surface into a molten mass.
Damn.
The surface of Mars began converting into some sort of black organic substance, spreading out from the crater.
This shit sounds
the
serious.
The largest 1548 event on record occurred at this point, sending out a massive solar flare towards Mars, which by this point was already half converted into the black substance. A violent explosion occurred. Mars lit up like the sun, and the remains of Mars are expected to form into an asteroid belt within the next few months.
Holy.
Finally,
So they sent a ship to go essentially seemingly to destroy this creature. It got absorbed by this creature. This creature used it as some kind of missile to infect and take over Mars. And then the sun was like, nah, bro. Sent out a massive solar flare that destroyed Mars and turned it into little chunks of asteroid. And now there's going to be another asteroid belt, you know, between us and now Jupiter, because there is no more planet between us. And, you know, Mars is gone. Damn, the shit is going down.
We're given one last picture, taken by the probe before the Foundation lost communication. The picture is of part of the universe, which should be filled with countless galaxies and stars.
Yep, and there's not.
As it is, however, the picture only shows 2 distant lights remaining, all that's left of our infinite, ever-expanding universe. The log ends by saying that the Foundation's main priority can no longer be secrecy.
How terrifying would that be? Right? How terrifying would that be to find out that there is some kind of extraterrestrial, existential entity crisis going on that is literally consuming the universe, and all that there is to protect you is some kind of entities, beings that are in the sun that are trying to ward them off, and the last image you get of the external universe is 2 little glowing dots, and everything else is black, where there should be trillions of stars and, you know, galaxies and whatnot everywhere. There's just 2 little dots left. Talk about terrifying.
All of these logs were being viewed by a member of the O5 Council, and we see that their vote is the tiebreaker on 2 important council decisions related to this situation. One of these decisions is to end the Veil Protocol, which would mean the Foundation drops the masquerade of secrecy, allowing the world to know what is happening.
I mean, I feel like at that point,
The
what else are
other
you gonna
decision
do?
is to reclassify SCP-1548 as Thaumiel, and to begin manually inducing 1548 events, which presumably would be rather beneficial.
I mean, couldn't that also, though, destroy the sun, too? Like, if you don't know what you're doing, and maybe there's only a finite amount of energy the sun can output before it, like, goes out, like, if you force that to do things more than it's supposed to, you could end up destroying your only line of defense.
If the Ortothans are to be believed. The O5 member logs off of the terminal without voting, however, leaving things in an ambiguous state. SCP-1548 is hardly the first SCP that leaves us with the world or universe in a questionable position.
No kidding.
But that does mean things are left to your imagination. Perhaps this situation was resolved, the world united and supported the final Ortothan god.
I mean, even if that is the case, then it does get resolved. That there's, I mean, knowing that there's literally nothing else out there, right? Like, the rest of the universe has been consumed and there's nothing left. We are literally trapped on this planet. We are a one star, one planet. I mean, I guess potentially we could, you know, maybe figure out a way to colonize the moon and maybe some of the other moons, like, you know, some of Jupiter's and Saturn's moons. But beyond that, we're not, you know, leaving the solar system at any point in time in our civilization's future. So, I mean, literally, we have a finite amount of resources, and eventually the sun is going to go out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess technically in this SCP universe, the sun is a god that's left over from a previous incarnation of a universe. So maybe technically it actually will exist forever. If that is the case, then yeah, we're just, you know, trapped here in our solar system, and who knows what that would mean, but it's still a terrifying thought to think that there's literally nothing else out there in the universe. It's all been consumed and destroyed. Talk about an existential crisis.
And we defeated the threats. Perhaps we ended up losing, but just like before, another universe was made, and maybe the Foundation managed to use an anomaly to make things as they were. 1548 is certainly not like many other SCPs, combining rampant science fiction with extra-universal aliens and magical gods of protection. I'll leave final judgments up to you, but it's these sort of examples of wild and unimaginable situations that make the SCP universe so unique.
True. It makes it very intriguing and very fascinating to contemplate about. One of the reasons why I love stuff like this, getting into the 40K universe and its lore, getting into the various SCP canons and the various stories and lores and where some of these things could lead. And yeah, it's fascinating. SCP-1417, all Ortothans here, all Ortothans must listen now. Unknown symbol 30. Stars lost. Unknown, a unit of time. Ago, the first invasion occurred. The gods were unprepared, never comprehending the fragility of the universe after its creation. Second city, lost. The extra-universal abominations invaded and the gods did not die. Their duty in protecting existence, transmission interference for one mission. SCP-3417 would not have won without Ortothans. Unknown symbol 31, lost. The gods defended Ortothans in existence. Ortothans defended the gods in existence. Illuminated star system, lost. When united, we are strong. But yeah, that was SCP-1548, the Star, the Hateful. Links will be down below, as always, in the description to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to the Exploring Series channel. You know, do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, you know, go over there and give it a like. And if you enjoyed the Exploring Series content, and you haven't already hit that sub button on this channel, please do me a favor, go over there and hit that sub button on this channel. You know, he makes a lot of great content for the SCP universe, for the 40K universe, as well as others. So, you know, check him out. If you enjoy his content, show the man some love. Very interesting and fascinating story. Just the creation mythos alone from this is a very fascinating take on you know, kind of a rebirth and death cycle? Is it a cyclical event of, you know, a universe is consumed by whatever these beings are? Maybe it is a natural thing that was created by some other even higher entity as a way of, like, you know, you got to have forest fires to burn away old brush so, you know, new trees can be reborn stronger and better. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe it's something like that on a multiversal scale where, you know, after so much time goes by, these entities go through and consume universes and they're destroyed, only for new universes to be born and retake their place, and life and existence evolves in certain ways, and potentially it's a test to see if any life is strong enough to maybe combat these things, to defend themselves against these things, and if so, they can then evolve beyond that into an even greater maybe state of being and understanding that could be on a kind of multiversal godhood scale or level. You know, I mean, who knows where it goes? It's one of those situations where it's like, okay, who created God? Does God have a God? And if God has a God, does God's God have a God? How far up does it go? You know, is that another infinite chain of things? You know, how far up and how far down do things really go, kind of a situation. But yeah, just that creation mythos of the, you know, them consuming and gods escaping and going to the next universe to protect life, and the sun is, you know, an extremely powerful being, an entity that is protecting us and Ortothans and other life against these, you know, extra universal enemy entities. I mean, I would love to learn. To me, it would be a fascinating story of just, I guess, expanding on it more to learn more about what these creatures are, where they're from, and, you know, having kind of a more, I guess, almost kind of like a 40K-esque, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but just kind of a more of what you would consider, I guess, a conventional, you know, war, where there are, you know, there's us, there are Tothans, and, you know, whatever other anomalies, and maybe that's why there are anomalies, right? Maybe anomalies are these gods' ways of creating tools and weapons to combat against this extra universal threat. Maybe that's the reason why there are anomalies throughout the universe and galaxy. They've seeded these things as to use them for weapons against this. And so, you know, we have this great, you know, universe-wide war going on between, you know, all existence and all nothing, or, you know, whatever these things are, and to learn more about them, what they are, you know, where they come from, you know, what is this black inky substance they're using, how it spreads, what it does. I don't know. There's just more questions and more things that I want to learn about them, and it would be a fascinating story to kind of go down that line. But yeah, like I said, great story. One I would love to learn and expand more on. So if there is any more kind of stories and tales that expand on this one more in the SCP universe, let me know. But again, otherwise, that was SCP-1548, the Star, the Hateful, by the Exploring series. And like I said, links will be down below in the description. If you'd like to join us when we do these reactions live, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube membership tiers and benefits that I offer. If you've been around the channel for a while and decide you want to take your support to the next level, check those out and see if they would have any interest for you. You can get early access to videos, priority any kind of reaction requests you might have, etc., etc. So take a look and see if you want to take your support to the next level. Regardless, thank you guys very much for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider leaving a like and a sub, as it helps me and the channel grow. And yeah, thanks for taking your time to do so. Really appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful day, everybody.